Pause everything, because this is one of the most beautiful games of chess that I have ever played. It started off as a normal e4-e5 game, but after knight to f3, instead of defending the e5 pawn with the natural move knight c6, my opponent chose the move d6. Some people like it, but I personally just consider this move a mistake. Black is not threatening anything, they're not really fighting for the center, and they're certainly not developing any pieces. It's just a bit too passive for my liking. And how do we deal with passive openings? That's right, be aggressive. d4, takes, knight f6 threatens my e4 pawn, and I defend with the natural move knight c3, continuing my development. c6, I don't really understand the point of that move. I guess it's to prevent my bishop or knight from coming here, which I wasn't even planning to do anyway. Bishop f4 and bishop e7 continues our development, queen d2 clears the castling path, and both sides castle. The opening is now over, and the middle game begins. If you know chess, you know that opposite side castling means a deadly race to the enemy king, where whoever gets to their target first wins. A peaceful draw is not an option. One way or another, there will be bloodshed. a5 begins black's queenside attack, but f3 prepares g4, starting my own kingside assault. The key to understand the middle game is to have a plan. And my plan is simple: march these pawns to their death, bust open the G and H files, bring over my heavy pieces, and checkmate. c5, bold as it looks, is just a bluff, because my knight can jump to f5, with a disgusting hidden threat. My opponent played b6, probably to get the bishop in the game. When you have such a dominant position, there will always, inevitably, be a tactic to gain an advantage. In this game, I found knight takes e7 with check to the king. Yes, trading this strong knight for this useless bishop. Because queen takes, bishop takes, and my opponent begins to realize that their position is dead lost. h4, a4, and g5 continues our respective attacking plans. Knight retreats, f4, and queen c6, bringing another attacking piece to the queen side. h5, and b5, which is literally just a free pawn. The queen has to retreat, but knight to d5 will get me sued for sexual harassment. My opponent played queen to d6, walking right into the savage sacrifice knight to f6 check to the king. I have a queen, my opponent does not. But my opponent refused to resign, even in such a hopeless position. The G and B files open up, and my opponent decides to blunder yet another free piece. When you have such a massive material advantage, it's usually a good idea to trade down to make the game as dull as possible. No complications, just a straight road to victory. Rook b8 check to the king tries a desperate attempt at attacking the king, but the problem is that my opponent just doesn't have enough pieces left on the board to start a mating attack. Knight to d4, and rook g1 check to the king forces king h8 to prevent instant checkmate. In this position, I took this pawn, which isn't even the top stockfish move, but it still leads to a forced checkmate. My opponent went on one last desperate attack to prevent the inevitable, but it was all for nothing. Knight takes rook, and I finally put my opponent out of their misery. But what can you actually learn from this game? The reason I won this game was because I had a straightforward game plan, and my opponent just played way too passive, allowing me to gain a dominant position with a lot of juicy tactics to win material and achieve a beautiful position in the endgame. Therefore, the lesson of today's video is that if you want to succeed in the middle game, you need to have a plan. And you need to act quickly, because you always have to assume that your opponent has a plan too. Winning in chess means making a bunch of strategically smart moves that improve your position and put pressure on the enemy until you find a winning tactic. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Hope to see you again soon. Till then, cheers.